Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today.
We get started. Hailey, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone who's listening today?
Yeah, so I am Hailey Rowe, and I'm a marketing and sales coach and also a behavioral change specialist and human potential coach and LinkedIn lead gen service provider. So I got my background in actually life coaching, and I love that kind of stuff, which is why we're going to talk a little more about time management and consistency and that kind of stuff today. But a lot of the things I help my clients with are what's getting in the way of them getting clients, which a lot of the time it's things like they're inconsistent, or time gets in the way, or confidence challenges, things like that. And then obviously helping them with their marketing and sales plan as well. But a lot of times it is the mindset and time barriers. So I'm happy to be here and talk with you.
Sounds super exciting. You know, procrastination, I'm sure it's one thing that at least, I actually was telling a client of mine today that I was training. He's a kind of an executive at one of these big banks in town. And I was like, hey, you know, tonight I'm meeting with a business coach, and one of the topics that we'll discuss is time management and consistency. And I was like, as a senior executive, do you have any tips on cracking procrastination? Because I mean, this feeling just sucks. And then he was like, oh, unfortunately, I haven't cracked it yet. So I'd love to know if there's any quick solution, because it will help everybody. So would you mind elaborating on that part first?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, with any feeling, especially procrastination, it is harmless unless we make it turn into something that is bad, or we shouldn't be having, or we're judging ourselves for having it, and then we let it get in the way of us either taking action, or we let it cause us to not take action. So an emotion doesn't become quote unquote harmful until we make it so, and until we like add judgment to it or let it dictate what we're going to do or not do. So the first thing to keep in mind is you really want, when you feel like you don't feel like it, you want to just notice the feeling, and you want to know that there's nothing really gone wrong, and you don't have to completely feel like doing something in order to do it. But what you can do is kind of start to bridge your way there. So if you're feeling like a strong resistance towards something, maybe you could just ask, like, what is going on for me? What is so daunting about this task? And usually it'll come down to you're expecting too much in the moment, like you're not breaking it down into something really small. So my first tip is to break it down into something that could take 15 minutes or less, and could be a yes or no, did you do this? And if it's not, if the task at hand is not answer, like, yeah, that would take 15 minutes, and yeah, I could say yes or no, I did this, then you need to probably break it down a little bit more. The other thing is just ask yourself, can I just blank? Like, can I just start it? Can I just put my gym clothes on? Can I just at least close down the Facebook app so I don't keep scrolling on that? So that's another thing, is always just ask, like, where can I start, and ease your way into it. Because we always realize the thing we're avoiding so much, a lot of times when we actually sit down to do it, it's not as scary or daunting or crazy as we think it is. I had a client who told me, I, had really been avoiding going on LinkedIn because I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have so many connection requests, and I haven't been on it in so long, and it's going to be so scary. And then she's like, I sat down to do it, and I was like, this is not hard. I'm literally sitting just clicking like accept. So that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah, I think last week, or actually every single week, I try to grab coffee with a fellow colleague or someone who's in my industry, and then just want to share kind of, we have a mutual sharing session of things that we were struggling through. And it seems to me that a lot of people, especially health and fitness coaches, we have these grand goals of, oh, I'm going to impact the industry, I'm going to impact the world. And yet when you tell them, okay, well, so what are you doing right now? It seems to me that it's always the admin work that's kind of dragging them down. So, any advice that you have that could help people solve that issue, or
Yeah.
to at least get the ball rolling?
Totally. So I'll go through what that is in a minute, but there's kind of two main reasons why we don't do things. One is we perfect everything, and so we're just taking forever on the task, or we're avoiding starting, or we're in analysis paralysis because we want it to be so perfect. And then the other reason is these, what you call these like admin tasks or little chores that keep getting in the way of doing what we want to do. So if you catch yourself saying things like, I'll just start on that business or that project or that thing when blah, blah, blah is over, when my birthday, after my birthday, after blank. This is a little bit of a cop-out, and we have to start asking yourself, how can you incorporate it with life? Because life is not going to stop for you to be able to do this dream. Right? So when it comes to the actual tasks that are results oriented, you want to ask yourself first, what's the main goal that you're shooting for? And then what's like the critical numbers or metrics that you need to be working towards or tracking to get to that goal? And then break it down even more, what are the daily activities that contribute to those metrics? So if you're like, I don't know what I should be doing with my goal, that's the first step, is just get clear on what is the 80% of, tasks that are going to, or sorry, 20% of tasks that are going to really drive results. And then once you know that, you have to make the time for them. So if you're spending all your time on admin tasks, one of the things I recommend is to make a daily, quote unquote, well, I keep a weekly list of like a brain dump of all the things you need or want to get done in the week. And then what I like to do is see which on that list are aligned with your actual goal, that your main goal that you're working towards. And then you write a wish list for your day. And this is where you put both your busy work tasks, your actual goal-oriented tasks, things you want to do in the day. And then I actually have my clients and myself, I do this. I write on a piece of paper my like actual appointments. So I have a meeting at 12. I have this at 1. I got to drive somewhere at this time. And then I look at what's left, and then I fill in the top priority goal tasks and then the admin tasks. So you see how you want to start to make room for those goal things. And if you're finding you truly can't because there's so much on your plate, you either have to ask, could I stop this project for now? Could I kind of, put that on hold right now? Could I outsource to somebody and delegate this admin task? In other words, is my hourly rate higher than if I could hire somebody perhaps to do this and help me with this? Or the other option would be to work it in, but work it in after you do your main big, goal-oriented task. And a lot of times I see people using the admin task as something that's just easier and more fun, doing the tasks that are really going to move them forward. So a helpful thing is to ask yourself, what results do I want to produce today? And make your task like that. So in other words, rather than just organize my files on my computer, I want you to do something like, I want to, at the end of the day, have myself to 3 podcasts, or I want to have, talked with X number of people and booked X number of calls, or something like that. So you can strive for something more like that that's going to direct your actions better, and hopefully that helps as a start.
No, I think it's great, and I actually, just from that, I love the two principles that you brought out. And one, you talk about the 20% that gives you the 80% of results, from 80-20 principle, and I absolutely agree with it, because another part of running your own business or running your own brand, you will, is to figure out, what are the essential items that I must do, and you have to prioritize those. And I love the planning idea, because then, once you have everything listed out, everything will become clear to you what is actually important. And I also love that you just said sometimes we have to kind of analyze the situation and the cause to see, maybe perhaps for most of us, it is best to outsource our weakness, right? Because it's just not worth our time to do everything. And those are great ideas.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget that you also have to have kind of like a not to-do list, or on pause, or like, this is not my top priority type of list, that are activities that you maybe are going to put a little bit on the back burner, or not do as well, or not be perfect at right now. And I think people really don't like hearing that, because they're like, I just want to be good at everything and a level 100 at every single thing in every area of my life all the time. And the sooner you can accept, like, no, life is kind of like there's seasons for things, and there's like juggling different things. And so it's okay to be like, I'm not going to be the all-star PTO mom this quarter. I'm going to be really focused on, XYZ. So yeah, I think it's important to also kind of look at what you're constraining in addition to adding more to your list.
No, that's great. And I suppose all these things also helps you to become more consistent, because once you figure out what the parties are, you can also figure out what the distractions would be, thereby kind of limiting yourself being off track. Is that true?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing with being consistent is like finding the small level ups, and not, what we do oftentimes is we think small level ups aren't big enough to count, and so we discount them, or we just say, no, I need to go all in. I'm an all or nothing person. It needs to be, amazing right off the bat. But that really, you have to ask yourself, is that working for you? And are you really being all or nothing? Or are you just kind of like starting and crashing and starting over and crashing, and kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you're not really moving forward with that approach? So one of the things that you have to ask yourself is like, what am I able and willing to do with my goal today? And really starting there. And then your brain, what we think is, oh, that's too small to count, I'll never get. But what actually is, your brain is getting a little bit of a boost for self, and then it's going to want to look for more. It's going to be like, wow, this bar was kind of set pretty easy. What else can we do? You start, let's say you want to go to the gym, and you set a goal to go and walk for 10 minutes on the treadmill. And after that, first you were like really dreading it, and then you get there and you do it. But then your brain's like, wow, is it? Okay, we can leave now. But like, what if we go sit on that machine over there and try that? Like, so all of a sudden your brain's kind of like, oh, I kind of like honoring this commitment. I did what I said I was going to do. So the more you can practice that, that's always good too.
Yeah. And also, I'm just curious, what are some common goals that people have when they kind of work with you? Is it, I want to be the best PT in the world? I want to grow my audience. What's the typical, if there is one?
Yeah. A lot of times I work with business owners who have a dream and a craft that they're good at, like coaching, or a service they provide, like personal training or something like that. And they really want to make it their career, and they want to make it their own career and their own business, and have unlimited opportunity for growth. So that's pretty much the goal that people come to me with, is I want to turn this, hobby or coaching thing that I love into my real career. And that's what I help them with. Because a lot of times what's stopping them is they don't know sales and marketing, and that is really required in a business. And it is something that once you get the principles of sales and marketing down, you know what you're selling, you know how to put yourself out there, a lot of doors can open. So I really help them learn that and incorporate that into their business. And also, as I said, overcome some of the hurdles, like I don't have enough time, or, I feel like I'm just a shy person and I can't get over that. And those are the things that I help them with too.
On this point, I love to hear your thoughts on this, because so a little bit about my background. I spent 10 years in the US, and obviously the American education system, more than other countries, encourages us to talk, to present, to be a good public
Mm-hmm.
speaker, to win the crowds over, to be charismatic. So after returning to Hong Kong, what I found is kind of the introvert in the US would be an extrovert here in Hong Kong, because if you can just take a bit of cultural background here, most people are taught to be just listen to authority, just shut up and don't speak up. And so most people would think that they're shy. And so what would your advice be usually to those shy people who think they have to be charismatic personal
Yeah,
trainer?
that's such a great question and interesting observation. So the first thing is you get to label yourself however you want in life. So if you're choosing to call yourself shy and make that a part of your identity and you like that, that's great. But what most people do is they use that to say, well, I can't go out there then. I'm just shy. Like, I can't go pitch myself for that thing. I'm just a shy person. So it limits them. So if it's limiting you, I want you to ask yourself, what else might be true? Has there been a time when I haven't been shy? Do I want to call myself shy, or do I want to call myself kind of, I open up when I get to know people, or, kind of explore a different identity for myself. And I think the other thing that is important to remind yourself is oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. I'm having 8 a.m. brain.
Forgot that it is 8 a.m.
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it back. My brain is back. Okay. Being shy is expensive. So I think if you're in business, you being shy and hiding is actually costing you from getting your message out there, getting clients, getting opportunities, because while you're hiding, there's somebody who's maybe just as qualified or not as qualified as you, who has the skill of, putting themselves out there, who's getting in front of people and winning. But you have to get out there too. And there's enough for everybody. And we all have to, put ourselves out there if we want to be in business. So now that said, I'll leave you with though, is there are things you can do if you have certain strengths. So like, let's say you just don't, you are willing to be on camera, but really like you're an amazing writer, or you're just like really good at blogging or something. If that's the case, obviously pick a marketing strategy you're going to want to stick with and you're going to be really good at to start with, and that's okay. But be open to developing new skills, but at the you have isn't related to being out there and it's writing or something, then I say do that too. That's great.
No, perfect. So at the end, it's still, you just got to come back to what you're good at. And what I understand is you don't necessarily have to be good at talking, but what is more important is you have to figure out what your true strengths are. Because when it comes to sales and marketing, you have to figure out what's your competitive advantage. And if you just try to spend your time chasing what everybody else is, or what do you think kind of the stereotypical rock star is, then you're also going to fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so is it difficult trying to kind of readjust people's mentality? Because I assume big part of your job is to educate your clients, telling them that, the stereotypical way is most often not the right way, because, that's what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. Well, I think what's hard is when you have limitations or things that you're like really protective about yourself because you just think it's a fact, it is hard to open up to new beliefs, and you're going to tend to defend your limitations if that's been the case for you and you really want to hold that about your identity for some reason. So I do work with my clients on helping them see what else is possible, and they do get there, but I'm a lot of times the coach that is with them when they are still in the other set identity. I get them to the next one, and then they're like way more open and they see like, wow, this is really possible, and I didn't think I could do this, and now here I am, look at me. Like, I had a client who really kept calling herself a new coach, And she wasn't a new coach by definition. She had actually been certified for quite a few years. She'd worked with quite a few people. She'd coached herself for many years. She's helped, she's done a lot of things. She's led groups of like teens. And so I was like, I don't really know if you can keep calling yourself a new coach, because like you're not, And so she was thinking that though. And so it caused her to not reach out to podcasts. I'm too small, I'm too new, I can't do that. Or it caused her to be like on video, like, I'm just new, I'm just gonna like be really, plain here on the video because I'm new, I don't want to say too much. And so we were like, okay, whoa, wait a minute. What if you weren't new? How would you be acting? How would you be, showing up confidently? And through our work together, she was able to start getting on those podcasts, seeing that she was worthy of being at the table and doing these bigger opportunities. So it is a hard job, because not gonna lie, because you're shifting who you are and you're shifting the actions you're taking in your business, and it leads to greater results. But it is worth it, and it is worth looking at how are you labeling yourself and what's your opinion of yourself, and do you want to explore something different? Because the truth is, the most amazing thing is we can, and we can believe whatever we want about ourselves.
Wow, that's inspiring. And I think that more people need to kind of get out of the boundaries that they set for themselves. Because, as you said, if you keep telling yourself that I'm just incompetent every single day, then you're not going to walk out the door thinking that you're competent.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the question that people should think of, whether they should work with a business coach or not? Because sometimes I've been approached by, just to be transparent, I've been approached by a few business coaches, and a lot of times they will come and they'll say, I can do this is for you. So what do you think is the critical question that people should ask themselves?
Yeah.
Why do they actually need one?
That's a great question. So I have actually a decision eval guide, and it talks about questions you can ask yourself to see if it's right for you to work with a business coach. So with anything, the greats usually have coaches and mentors. So if you're an athlete and you're training for a big event, you usually have a coach to help you know, what's the best way to recover, what's the way to improve your game, and they can see things that maybe you can't see when you're super in it. And when you don't want to like talk to your family and friends and use them all the time for advice, and maybe they're not even qualified to be like giving the advice. So a coach is somebody who is able to help you see blind spots, and also kind of provide and help you with a GPS to get to your goals. So a lot of times when you're going on your own without a quote unquote GPS, and somebody who's done it before and somebody who's done it with many clients before, you're going to probably take extra detours. You're probably going to have extra pauses. You're probably going to have extra bumps in the road, compared to if you're working with a coach. So my question for you would be, how soon are you looking to move things forward in your business? That's a question to ask yourself, because if it's, you really want to get things going and you want to accelerate your success, it could be helpful to have a business coach. Another thing to ask yourself would be, what have I been trying so far, and how is it working for me? So a lot of people come to me having already downloaded tons of free trainings and trying to piece together information, but what they realize is they need a more custom approach, and they need something that's going to align with their strengths, or they feel like everything's kind of out of place and they don't know how to put it in order, or they don't know how to customize it and internalize it for what they need to be doing, or they're getting caught in the wrong activities because they don't have somebody who can say like, hey, based on your goals, this is what you probably should be doing. So that's another question. And then I think the other thing is like, are you growth oriented, and are you coachable? Because if you want to grow, I have a lot of the principles I live by have come from coaches and mentors and programs I've done. And I think it's also about the mindset you come into it. So for me, like, I like to come into any investment like I am definitely going to get what I came for in some way, shape, or form here. And it always works out because I'm always looking for how I can make the most out of that opportunity and that investment. So whatever you end up doing, just make sure that you're going to bring this mind that's like, I am going to soak this in like a sponge. I'm going to like look for the cool things I can take from this and use and leverage. And if you do that, I've had every investment I've made, even the ones that I would call quote unquote, like maybe not the best or like a bad one. I still learned from the bad ones because it taught me what I don't want to do. And it taught me like, you know, what I should ask myself beforehand and all that kind of stuff. So every single one of them, I'm pretty grateful for. And hopefully that helps too with people making that decision.
No, I love that. I love the athlete and the coach example because, you know, as an athlete, the athlete might know a lot and even the athlete might even be more skillful than him or his coach. But sometimes if you're in the moment, if you're in the game yourself, you just cannot see the big picture. And so having the right coach can ensure that you at least have some form of tactic going into it so that you're not just scrambling for plans. So where can people get this assessment or evaluation or questionnaire, Hailey?
Yes. So you can just reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Hailey_Rowe. And I also have on the topic of time management, actually in my bio on my profile, or you could go to haileyrowe.com/time planning. I have a free time management system and guide that helps you actually stick with what you say you're going to do. And there's 5 weekly reflection questions so you can keep getting better when it comes to your time management. And I am excited to share that with everybody.
Oh, I'm sure excited too. I'm sure a lot of people will find this beneficial. And I just want to say, as we're wrapping up here, if anyone has any question, please type it into the chat. We'll love to answer all your questions, especially as a health coach, as a personal trainer, as a just professional working in this industry. It is such a competitive place that it will definitely need, or everybody definitely need helps in order to kind of navigate through and to separate themselves. And, you know, if you have any questions or concerns or just kind of you're not sure where to start today, then definitely check out Hailey's website.
Thank you.
Let's see. Well, I guess if there are no questions, we'll just see if people have other questions when I post videos of today's interview.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for doing this today, Hailey.
Yeah.
Thank you for waking up at 8 o'clock to do this interview.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. This was very fun, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.